everybody, and thank you for coming today. My name's Mary Ellen Jones, and I've invited everybody here today to show support for Pat Toomey. Like a lot of Americans, I'm very unhappy with what's happening to our country under the current Congress, of which Joe Sestak is a member. I want Pat to go to Washington in November because I really believe that Pat believes in some basic core values, and those are personal responsibility and fairness. It seems like every time I turn the TV news on anymore, I'm hearing about one more bailout that I am expected to fund. I've been asked to bail out companies, I've been asked to bail out other people's mortgages, I've been asked to bail out the government. I don't like bailouts, and either does Pat, and that's why I'm standing here with him today. I'm a small business owner, and as such, I know it's really hard to get a company up and running and to keep it operating. I know that Pat relates to that because Pat used to own a small business too. He understands the hard work and the risk that goes into building a company. Joe Sestak doesn't, yet he feels like it's perfectly fine to come and ask me to bail out more failed entities. Pat doesn't believe in that, and that's why I am supporting him. I bought this house in 1989, and like most Pennsylvanians, I had to take out a mortgage to pay for it. I've been here a long time, but I still write that mortgage payment out every month, and I pay it on time. I work really hard to support myself, keep my house going, and to enjoy a modestly comfortable lifestyle. So when I hear Congress wanting me to bail out one more company that has made and lost billions of dollars, when I hear Congress wanting me to bail out one more other person's mortgage, and when I hear Congress wanting me to bail out a government that's grown so large it can't keep track of itself, I get very frustrated with that. I want the bailouts to stop. I feel like Congress is totally unfair and is treating the taxpayers like we're a bottomless money pit, and we're not. I now come to understand that Joe Sestak has yet another bill before Congress that's going to ask us to bail out more mortgages. I don't want to do it. I think that Pat understands the value of hard work, and I think that Pat understands that our income and our hard-earned money should stay where it belongs, and that's with us. It doesn't belong bailing out every entity that can't support itself. I know that a lot of us in Pennsylvania are tired of the bailouts, and I know also that a lot of voters these days are working hard to keep their candidates accountable to them if they get elected. With that knowledge, I truly believe that Pat is going to go to Washington and he's going to work hard to make positive changes for Pennsylvania and for America. I'm very glad to have the opportunity today to introduce our next senator from Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mary Ellen. Thank you very much for inviting us into your home and for sharing your perspective on this. I think it's a perspective that is shared by most Pennsylvanians, frankly, and I'm grateful for the chance to be here with you today. Mary Ellen is absolutely right about the very, very long litany of enormously expensive bailouts that Washington has inflicted on Pennsylvania and American taxpayers. The fact is, Joe Sestak has voted for every one of them. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, really a literally unlimited amount of money that increases every quarter. Wall Street bailouts that Joe Sestak supported for $700 billion. Auto company bailouts for over $100 billion. Another round of Wall Street bailouts. When you include all the guarantees that taxpayers are forced to assume on the part of these and other companies, the total commitment that these politicians have inflicted on our taxpayers is now in the trillions of dollars, literally. And what's shocking is that that's not enough for Joe Sestak. In fact, Joe Sestak has introduced a new bill, his own bill, that would require taxpayers to bail out home mortgages as well. The fact is, this is a basic question of fairness, as Mary Ellen said, and it's about fairness to taxpayers, current taxpayers and future taxpayers, because all of these bills are being funded with debt that is going to be carried by our kids and our grandkids. The fact is, Joe Sestak is siding against hardworking taxpayers every time. I think it's unfair to do this to taxpayers. Apparently, most members of Congress agree. Joe Sestak doesn't have a single co-sponsor in this in the entire Congress for his legislation, but he's for it. And here's what the bill would do: it would simply force taxpayers to fund the difference between the value of a mortgage and the value of a home if the price of the home has declined. and is now worth less than the original mortgage. It's not a government loan. It's a taxpayer-funded bailout. By the way, it doesn't even matter if the homeowner is able to make payments on the mortgage. The homeowner may be making payments, may be perfectly able to make payments, or may not. Doesn't matter. Joe Sestak wants these people to be bailed out in any case. Let me cite three big problems with this bill. First of all, it's the fundamental message that I think Mary Ellen shared with us, and that's a message of fairness. It's just not fair to force homeowners who've been working hard, who've made sacrifices, who've lived modestly, who've paid their bills, who are paying their mortgage, to tell them now, by the way, you have to pay someone else's mortgage too. And that's exactly what this bill does. It's totally unfair. What it does is it says a certain group of Americans, maybe the ones who decided to sacrifice vacations and other luxuries so that they could pay down their mortgage, and maybe they've paid it off. About a third of all Americans don't have mortgages because they have worked hard and they've paid their mortgages. Those Americans get nothing. They're required to subsidize another group. It's a classic case of government picking the winners and losers, which is something that Joe Sestak is in favor of, and I'm not. The second big problem with this is what I call, and many others call, the moral hazard argument, and that is it encourages exactly the kind of behavior that we should not be encouraging. Specifically, you think about this bill, it encourages people to be irresponsible. It encourages people to buy the biggest house they can possibly get, take out the biggest mortgage they can possibly qualify for, because if prices go up, terrific, they get to make money. And if prices go down, Joe Sestak wants some other taxpayer to subsidize their mortgage. We shouldn't be creating the very incentives that help to get us into the mess that we're in right now. The final reason, and maybe the biggest one, is simply this. We can't afford this. We absolutely cannot afford this. Evidently, it has escaped Joe Sestak's attention, but it hasn't escaped mine, that he has voted for all of these huge spending bills, all a staggering record amount of deficits, and it is very soon going to come home to roost. Let me just put this in context. The fact is, in part because of Joe Sestak's votes, we have a $1.6 trillion deficit last year, about the same this year, about the same next year. We are racking up debt that we have never witnessed before in the history of this country. And it's very, very problematic. You know, in 1980, the total federal government's debt as a percentage of our economy was about 40%. In 1988, it was about 40%. In 2008, it was about 40%. By the end of this year, the total debt as a percentage of our economy will be 63%. And according to the Obama administration's own projected numbers, within 10 years, it'll be close to 100%. Many analysts think it'll be more than 100%. Folks, this is approaching Greece-like levels of deficits and debt. It is completely unaffordable. It is unconscionable that we would inflict on our kids and our grandkids a level of debt that will prevent them from achieving the standard of living that we've come to enjoy. No generation of Americans has ever done that to those following them, and we certainly shouldn't be the first. We need to end the bailouts, and we certainly need to prevent any new ones. Joe Sestak is very, very mistaken on this, and when I get to the Senate, I'm going to do all that I can to end the bailouts of failing companies and to prevent launching new bailout programs. Thank you very much.